Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. Are you happy? But what is happiness? I know we have spoken about it before. Here is a little bit more. Let us concentrate on a few issues in regard to happiness. One thing is certain. Everyone wants to be happy, but only if you consider its meaning. Happiness may become an abstract idea, pushing it further out of reach. If one wants to achieve full happiness, one needs to understand it fully. So the question is, again, what is happiness? A Dr. Richard Wilk says the psychologists often tried to identify the message, to measure happiness. But they don't take the time to actually talk with people. No one asks if there is something called happiness and what it means, and that there is no universal definition of the word happiness. He further considers that some cultures would scoff at the idea of internal happiness, focusing instead on harmony, a measure of their relationships with others, showcasing the very concept of happiness across cultures. Behavioral psychologist Lachlan Brown considers happiness as a complex interplay of external and internal factors. In the external sense, social expectations and material positions play a great role, providing temporary satisfaction, and which is essential, he says. But true happiness comes from within. It is about the mindset, self-awareness, and emotional resilience. All in all, it seems impossible to derive an easy definition. All what happiness is, something of your concept in terms of ideas, emotions, lifestyles, and internal states. Can we then consider happiness as an emotion, perhaps? Perhaps it is a fleeting emotion at that. Remember, we are always happy when we hear good things, good news, and where we become very emotional and sad when we hear not so good news. I am sure the happiness levels continuously fluctuate based on what happens in our lives. In an abstract sense, we can describe happiness as a conceptual idea, which can be, of course, considered okay, as even if you are real or just out of reach. As you may know, that those who consider happiness as an idea are those striving for it, but never achieving it, because they do not truly know what they are talking about or looking for. How about if we consider happiness as a state of being? Some people think in that way. Perhaps it is the basis of one's life. Remember, good news brings some joy, whereas bad news provides devastation. Yet, the big picture does not change. Agreed? What about happiness considered as a lifestyle? Some people think it is that way, and they are the ones who choose to embrace happiness, and it becomes their lifestyle, believing that one must consciously build one's own life around the idea of happiness. However, use of the word means avoiding anything that might cause negative emotions, thus limiting the range of human experience. Think about that. There are also those who consider happiness as the final goal. It seems that they have a roadmap with their personal lives, populated, of course, with steps that they must claim to fulfill the ultimate purpose of their lives and their happiness. Those steps may include anything from having a great wealth to having a family and children. Are you sure which one of the ideas of happiness would be the correct line of thought? There are varying ideas which asks the question, which one is right? Wary experts seem to disagree with that. Brown and Dr. Wilk both would disagree with the idea of happiness as a continual state. They consider that the idea of happiness of the people, while explaining that happiness is a fluctuation or fluctuating experience. Cognitive behavior therapist with creative minds, Christy Wright, does not accept happiness as the final goal and considers that a large amount of research suggesting that striving to be happy always can make us feel worse, for it is not possible to be continuously really happy. Clinical psychologist Dr. Ashley Smith explains that forever chasing pleasure from outside leads to hedonistic treadmill. That boost quickly wears off as we return to baseline, leaving us ready to chase the next happiness hit. In fact, happiness is a very complex subject, that much more than just one thing might be true at the same time. Now, Dr. Hilary Stokes says that there is a difference between emotional happiness and the idea of happiness. People strive to define the two different types: external and internal. External, or the feel-good happiness, results from feeling the pleasure found in external circumstances. This is a universal part of the experience that is connected with one's inner core values. But it is much more than that. How best can we understand what happiness is? Good question. To start, we can certainly recognize the key constituents of happiness. Some philosophers believe that happiness needs to be understood as the final goal of life. Or is it the aspect of chance? It really could be dependent on languages. And the term happiness is synonymous with good luck. Just think about it. Therefore, philosophers usually explicate unhappiness being either a state of mind or a life that goes well for people leading it. The research in psychology has guided very modern day philosophers in developing their own theories. Indeed, happiness is a very multifaceted emotion, and it encompasses a range of positive feelings, from contentment to intense joy. It is usually connected with positive life experiences, such as spending time with loved ones, achieving goals, or engaging in enjoyable activities. However, it can also arise spontaneously. Consider, it is closely related to well-being and overall life satisfaction. Studies have shown that people who experience higher degrees of happiness tend to have, shall we say, better physical and mental health, stronger social relationships, and greater resilience in the face of difficulties and conflicts. The goal of happiness has been a central subject in philosophy and psychology. Well, there is no single or universally accepted definition of happiness. It is usually understood to be a state of mind characterized by positive emotions, even a sense of purpose, and a feeling of fulfillment. Happiness is a subject of debate, and the differences are based on understanding by the culture. The word happiness alone is used in relation to two factors. And they are, one, the current experience of the feeling open, an emotion like pleasure or joy, or in a more general sense of the emotional condition as the whole. It has been defined that happiness is as what are you experiencing here and now. This is prevalent in dictionary definitions of happiness. Some usages of the word may include such factors as subjective well-being, including measures of current experience, emotions, moods, and feelings, and of life's satisfaction. It has been described that happiness as the experience of joy, contentment, or a positive well-being. Contentment, combined with a sense of it as one's life being good, meaningful, and worthwhile. Do you consider meanings of the word being very dependent on context, qualifying happiness as a fuzzy concept? Just think about it. When measurement is made appraisal of a level of happiness at the time of experience may be different from appraisal via the memory at a later date. Some accept these issues but continue to use the word or the terminology because of its convening power. German philosophy professor Michaela Summer says that it is thinking between joy and happiness, and is that joy accompanies the process through and through, whereas happiness seems to be more strictly tied to the moment of achievement of the process. Joy is not only a direct emotional response to any event that is embedded, as you know, life concerns, but is also totally bound to the present moment, where there is happiness. Presupposes and evaluate stance concerning one period of one's life, or one's own life as a whole. Since the year 2000, psychology focused on the study of happiness and human flourishing rather than maladjusted behavior or illness, expanding drastically in terms of scientific publications. You may have seen some. It has also produced many different views on causes of happiness, such as positive social interactions with family and friends. It has also produced many different views and causes of happiness. And those factors that correlate with happiness, such as positive social interactions. These factors include 6 key virtues. 1. Wisdom and knowledge, including creativity, curiosity, love of learning, and open-mindedness. 2. Courage, including bravery, integrity, persistence, and vitality. 3. Humanity, including love, kindness, and social intelligence. 4. Justice, including leadership, fairness, and loyalty. 5. Temperance, including self-regulation, prudence, forgiveness, humility, patience, and modesty. 6. Transcendence, including religious and spirituality, hope, gratitude, appreciation of beauty and excellence, and humor. To have about you to be considered as a key strength in the field of positive psychology, it must meet the demands of causes, criteria, cross-cultural fulfilling, moderately valued, which does not diminish others that are non-fellow researchers, opposite, or have a clear antonym that is negative. Trade like measurable, distinct paragons, or as some think they would show up in individuals' behaviors. Have prodigies or show up in youth. Be selective, absent, or distinctly does not show up in some individuals, and is supported by some institutions. Believe it or not. People's level of subjective well-being is determined by many different factors, and social influences proved to be a strong one. John Stuart Mill believed that for the great majority, happiness is best achieved, shall we say, en passant, rather than striving for it directly, meaning no self-consciousness, scrutiny, interrogation, dwelling on, thinking about, imagining, or questioning on one's happiness. Then you would inhale happiness with the air you breathe. Somehow yogic consideration. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a therapeutic method used to change habits by changing thoughts and problem behaviors. It focuses on emotional regulation using a lot of positive psychology, or that is psychological practices. It is often used for people with depression, anxiety, or addictions, and works towards how to lead a happier life. The common processes in this behavioral therapy are reframing thoughts from problem thinking patterns by replacing them with beneficial and supportive ones. Role playing, finding beneficial skills, and choosing new activities which support desired behaviors and avoid negative ones. Now, research into happiness shows us that happiness is life, satisfaction, or well-being. It is difficult to find the definition of happiness. Go for individuals instead, asking how happy they feel. Many surveys then summarized and analyzed using very static methods. Some researchers believe that the scales are unsuitable for estimating happiness, while others believe that their skills are fundamentally based on surveys which have statistical correspondence with characteristics that are generally understood to indicate a happy person. Individuals who report happiness and skills smile more often, exhibit more social behaviors, are more helpful, and are less likely to commit suicide. Happiness, therefore, increases, determined on the basis of the survey which are considered reliable. Cross-sectional study on happiness, and naturally the physical health, shows consistent positive relationships. That's true. Further studies show that happiness does not predict longevity in sick population, but it does project longevity among healthy populations. Keep that in mind. The positive effects of happiness and being in a good mood, they are being studied and confirmed. Do the happier people tend to be more helpful, attentive, and generous to others, as well as to themselves? Well, people are more cooperative and less aggressive, and are more likely to help others in need. They were also found to be more sociable and communicative. More positive effects of happiness seems to lead a creative problem solving, persisting through challenges, more intrinsic motivation, and being more effective at using efficient decision-making strategies. Some believe that success breeds happiness. Happiness protects from those negative outcomes. Some believe that public policy should attempt to maximize happiness, and even attempting to estimate ahead only calculus has Thomas Jefferson put the pursuit of happiness on the same level as life and liberty. Currently, many countries and organizations measure populations' happiness through large-scale surveys. Some political scientists argued that life satisfaction is positively related to the social democratic model of a generous social safety net. Others argue that it is strongly correlated with economic freedom within the context of Western mixed economy with free press and a democracy. Happiness forms a central theme of Buddhist teachings. Put ultimate freedom from suffering, the normal eightfold path leads and its practitioner to nirvana, which is a state of everlasting peace. In here, we understand happiness being only achieved by overcoming cravings in all forms. What it also encourages, the generation of loving kindness and compassion. It is concerned, therefore, with the happiness and welfare of all beings. In Advaita Vedanta, the ultimate goal of life is happiness. This is the Hindu philosophy, in the sense that duality between Atman and Brahman is transcended, and one realizes oneself to be self in all. I will say this is enough for today's episode. We shall meet again, and thank you for watching and listening. Keep smiling and be happy. Thank you.